Cybersecurity is digital warfare, and software products are the most valuable targets for hackers. They're the easiest to attack, and they generally are the gateways to a company's most sensitive information.
Suddenly, software is being used for the first time for front-facing systems, and what I mean by that is customer-facing systems. And why that's super important is that means you. Everything that touches you, whether it's your iPhone, soon your car, your thermostat, soon your refrigerator is going to speak back. That means the surface area in which security can actually have an impact on your life as an individual has massively changed, and it's same for all enterprises.
Over the last 15 years, we've seen security spending increase about 10 times. It's grown from about $8 billion to about $80 billion. And as we've seen today, more than 75% of organizations have claimed that they've been breached or compromised in some way. So we need a new approach to cybersecurity, and HackerOne is one of the most provocative approaches that we've ever seen.
Everything is software, and all software is connected, and when it is connected, all criminals will find it. HackerOne is the leading bug bounty and vulnerability coordination platform. Our mission is to enable the world to build a safer internet. A bug bounty program is like a neighborhood watch. You ask those who are outside to help you find your own holes and vulnerabilities and to tell you when they find something. HackerOne is a two-sided marketplace where on the one hand we have thousands and thousands of hackers who help you find vulnerabilities, and on the other side we have companies who need that service. So the hackers have no special access, no special information. They come there just like anybody else to the website or to the system to find bugs. Bug bounty programs apply to any software there is, and there's today software in every product you produce. The power of a bug bounty program is that you find the unexpected bugs. You find the black swans, the things that are unpredictable and that you couldn't know of ahead of time. You could say that bug bounty programs are becoming the ultimate test of your software development lifecycle.
Today, they have more than 500 companies that use the platform and over 20,000 hackers that have been certified. We pay out millions of dollars every quarter and are creating a safer internet.
I think every company should work with HackerOne, absolutely. If they want to be more safe and secure, they should work with us. So Facebook, Microsoft, Google have fantastic programs of their own. But everybody else, they're coming to HackerOne. Looking for flaws in other people's systems, that's actually something that humans are pretty good at, and they enjoy doing it. And we've figured out a way of making it rewarding for both sides.
One of the things that's fascinating about security that a lot of people don't appreciate is that you have to understand that hackers are going to go after the path of least resistance. What's now becoming easy is the application, because the applications are all using the same components. It used to be when you had an accounting system, it needed to scale to tens, maybe hundreds of people's max. But when it's Facebook or Netflix or United Airlines on your iPhone, have to interface with literally millions of people. So in order to scale those systems, you had to componentize them. And those components are all shared. All the companies use various different pieces of those Lego blocks that are in the cloud. The problem with all that is that it vastly increases the threat zone of the number of components that could be used to make software vulnerable.
It is absolutely mind-boggling, the pace of software development. And in industries that you wouldn't expect. John Deere thinks of tractors as platforms for software delivery. JP Morgan has more software developers than Apple, Google, Facebook, and eBay combined.
For someone who's trying to run security in an enterprise, you're in this world where we're evolving to a cloud architecture, where differentiation as a company is boiled down not from building the car or from building the Caterpillar truck, right? It's actually to the software that's embedded that actually differentiates you.
As a company, Sonatype, we want to provide organizations with the tools to use better things, to make better decisions, and build better software. You know, the roots of our company lie in Maven, which is basically a recipe container and dependency resolver. And so we help make that assembly process possible. We also have the central repository, which is where build tools like Maven go to get the parts that they need to assemble into software. Last year, we served 31 billion requests for open source components. So it is a massive ecosystem that is growing almost double every year. In that ecosystem, Maven Central, we make no judgments about the integrity of a thing that's being requested. When the cardinal rule is thou shalt never break a build. Making things that are out of date and potentially vulnerable is something that we have to do. So in the context of that balance, we are focused on helping people both mitigate risk and deliver in real time. 2 years ago, the Chicago Mercantile Exchange went dark. Citibank went dark. Barclays went dark. The CIA went dark, all because of their use of an old version of struts, which is an entirely avoidable problem. A typical organization can use millions of open source components in a given year. And so using automation is really a critical way to make those decisions and make that software important and relevant and secure.
The impact of a breach is getting more and more physically dangerous. Forget a minute about your identity being stolen. That's the magnitude of the problem. And it could really destroy a single company's reputation.
The integrity of the software that we're using literally affects life outcomes. If a hospital has to move patients, if vehicles become unstable, if critical infrastructure like power grids and nuclear power plants start to become unreliable because of the decisions that we've made and the software that we've produced, that's a really big deal. And I think we have a real role to play in helping avoid those bad outcomes.
Some security is around stopping the initial breach. Others are about seeing patterns of breaches that are the early parts of war. ThreatQuotient is one of those companies that's about seeing the early parts of war, the early indicators.
Organizations now are having to recognize not will they be compromised, but when they're compromised, how do they respond? So that's really becoming the measure. The problem that an operator has today, the core problem, is the job of investigating an incident is largely a manual task. And so the reality of their world is they rely on third-party sources of data, they rely on their own intelligence, their own smarts, and like a private investigator go through the task of doing their job, a very manual process. And so if you can just provide efficiency around that, there's value, huge value for these folks. The idea, though, to provide enhanced analytics on top of it is a little bit like pulling the needle out of the haystack. What we offer up is the ability for operators to make use of the data. We offer enhanced analytics on top of that information, and we offer the ability to have, in some cases, automatically inject that into the sensor grid. Our company was built from the ground up by operators of threat intelligence systems. And so our founders both came out of General Dynamics, not only built the threat intelligence business, but also managed it for years. So there's an intimacy, a familiarity with the problem that they bring to the table. You could look at any major breach that's been publicized, and very often you'll see a statistic related to the time at which the breach occurred versus the time at which they uncovered it. And that time gap is costly to organizations. So the power of what we do is really shortening that gap. That's the real power.
Security is about human beings taking approaches against other human beings on the chessboard of software. I think that's what all our companies are really about, is really sort of helping automate that which is a human attack.
So companies are vulnerable to attacks today because the attackers got smarter. Antivirus does a fine job at identifying known malware and identifies it on devices and removes it. But because the attackers figured out how to recreate a signature, which is what antivirus tracks, in the moment, malware can get right through antivirus with a new signature. And the way large organizations attack this problem, first and foremost, is with large teams of very expensive people. And second, they consume and acquire very expensive software technology from firms in the market.
And it is absolutely true that that same vulnerability may be even more acute in small to medium-sized enterprises who need to use those components even more because they have to be faster and faster, and yet they have less coverage with their own security experts. They have none.
From a technical perspective, mid-market organizations have the same needs and challenges that the large organizations have. The big difference is they don't have the budget. What they need is a solution that delivers on that level of protection that the large teams of security guys can provide at a fraction of the cost, and one that they can actually consume and manage by themselves. So Barclay has introduced a new form of protection that complements antivirus, essentially fills the gap that is in the market today.
For them, it was as much about ease of use as it was about the security. Luckily, we have one of the greatest security experts in the world. In fact, the technology that's in the company was used offensively by the United States government. So it is very sophisticated software in terms of stopping attacks or making attacks, as it once did. That's the brilliance of what they're doing, is not just providing great security, but to allow you to basically use it in a very easy to use way.
So this is an enormous market. And Barclay's solution is complementary to all of the antivirus that companies already have implemented. So it's a very friendly position to come in and complement the existing investments that organizations have already made.
It's kind of one of those things like Maslow's law of, various requirements. One of them is shelter, right? And security provides shelter. And as software is embedding itself into everything that we do, I mean, think about how often you're interfacing with software. I mean, when you're driving, when you're using your phone, you can be attacked all those different ways. And I think that's one of the things that's made security fascinating, actually have an ROI, is that the cost of not doing it well can be the end of your company.
Over the past several years, we've been building a best-of-breed early-stage portfolio. The entrepreneurs today have a lot more tools and a lot more weapons to use to fight criminals, but they have to use the very, very best tools. And the marriage of security expertise with deep industry expertise, with deep technology expertise, is what makes these companies successful.